It's been a long time since I've been in a cage at a club. This is some nonfiction I've been working on. Cyberfest. His name was Jesse, and I met him on hotornot.com. This was the spring of 2001. I was 19, still skinny, still a mess. Jesse was 21, had a full-time job, and lived in Citrus Heights, a suburb just outside of Sacramento. He shared a house with his ex-boyfriend, David, and a few friends. Jesse and David had just broken up because David, who until very recently had been a high school English teacher, had fucked a few of his underage students. Jesse and I started exchanging weekly emails, chatting on MSN Messenger, and then the daily phone calls began. A distraction from his job at an investment firm, a distraction from my life of doing basically nothing. We shared our lives. He lamented his shortness. I lamented my height. He told me a guy who looked like me could date anyone. I told him I was just a few meals away from not caring what I looked like. I wanted to be everything he was, small, white, blue-eyed. He wanted to be everything I was, tall, brunette, living in Los Angeles. Over the phone one night, he said, on August 18th, I'm going to a rave in San Francisco, and I'm going to drop ecstasy for the first time in 5 years. I want you to do it with me. Even though I'd never tried a single drug or had even been to Sacramento, I said yes. He paid for my bus ticket, and spring slowly turned to summer. Jesse moved in with his parents after his ex, David, went psycho. Screaming matches, stalking, even threats of violence. You won't have to meet him, Jesse told me. The day arrived, and I took a bus to Bakersfield, a train to Stockton, and then another bus to Sacramento. I was afraid he didn't exist, that I'd get off the bus and no one would be waiting for me. But he was waiting for me. He was definitely short, and he was definitely cute. He drove me back to his parents' house. It was small, overcluttered, and sort of smelled like day-old spaghetti, but it felt warm and inviting. When he introduced me to his older brother, he called me Phil the Fag. His mother gave me a huge hug and said I'd been the only good thing in her son's life for the last 5 months. He took me to his room, also small, where we started looking at photos of himself. The walls were a dirty purple, an old futon cowered in the corner. 2 of his other friends were going with us to the rave. In fact, it was in their car we'd be traveling to San Francisco. They lived at Jesse's old residence. Don't worry, he said. David will not be there. The house he shared with his ex and his friends was huge. When we walked in, Jason asked his friends, he's not here, right? I looked around. No, a friend said, and it's a good thing because he found out about Philip and the rave. My stomach dropped. Fuck, Jesse said. He ran upstairs, leaving me behind. The friends invited me out to the backyard where they asked me questions about my life. Jesse finally reappeared and said, all right, let's go. He told me to get into his car, which confused me. I thought we were going with your friends. Oh, we are, he said. We just have to park it somewhere else so David doesn't see it. What did you do while you were away, I asked. He said, I wasn't going to tell you, but I decided to get back at David, so I threw away all of his porn. I didn't know whether to laugh or go back to the train station. We dropped off his car at the local mini-mart, got in the backseat of his friend's car, and we were off. The sun set on our way west. We crossed the Bay Bridge, and Jesse took my hand and put it on his growing erection. I want to marry you, he said. I don't have any money and live in Los Angeles, I said, laughing back at him. We arrived at this mysterious place called the Cow Palace. We set up camp in some bleachers, and Jesse gave me a blue pill with a little dolphin on it. Make sure to dissolve it on your tongue, he said over the thumping music. I did so and gagged a few times. What's wrong, he asked. I said, I don't like it dissolving on my tongue. No, I said, make sure it doesn't dissolve on your tongue. Oh. 15 minutes later, a warm wave crashed into my face and I was gone. We made out. I fingered him. I rimmed him on the stadium floor. We were only gay bashed twice, which was pretty good for 2001. And I was convinced I was in love with him. I ignored the strangers giving us side-eye. I ignored the look of pity from the woman selling me a bottle of water. I ignored everything and fell into Jesse's blue eyes. At 2 a.m., the lights cranked on and the stadium was empty. When we got back to Citrus Heights, Jesse's car was the only one at the mini-mart. I got into the passenger seat and saw a note under the windshield wiper. Jesse read it and his mouth gaped. I got out of the car. What's wrong? I asked. He handed me the note which read, when I get my porn back, you get your left tire back, David. He called his mother to come pick us up. David was a crazy man last night, she said on the way back to their house. He started banging on our door at 2 o'clock in the morning. Now, I don't know what you boys did at that dance music thing you went to, but I hope it wasn't drugs. You know your father's prior convictions. We can't have drugs in the house. Jesse's dad was already yelling when we pulled into the driveway. Jesse told me to go wait in his room, so I pulled down the futon and threw on some bed sheets he gave me as I listened to them yell at each other for half an hour. He finally joined me in the bedroom and said, "Mom's going to help me get my tire back when we wake up in a few hours. We'll figure it out then." 3 hours later, his mother walked in on me blowing him. "Jesus, Mom," Jesse said. She closed the door and came back 20 minutes later. "Philip," she said to me, "what time is your bus back to LA?" "Noon," I said. "Okay, then we should get going." As we dressed, I asked Jesse where we were going. "Well, Mom thought it'd be easier if we just take care of this tire thing on the way to the bus station." "And how are we going to do that?" I asked. "We're going to an adult video store to buy David some new porn." It was then that I, with a stranger I'd met on the internet, with whom I'd done drugs and sex with not 5 hours earlier, and his mother, went to a porn store in a Sacramento suburb. When they dropped me off at the bus station an hour later, his mother said to me, "We didn't feed you any breakfast. Do you have any food?" "I don't really eat," I said. "Don't be ridiculous. You need to eat. Here, take these." She handed me her half-eaten tin of Altoids. Over the next month, the calls became less frequent, and when the Twin Towers were burning to the ground and everyone was reaching out to one another, I didn't hear a thing from Jesse. And a month after that, when he told me he never wanted to see or talk to me again because I wasn't what he expected after meeting me in person, I thought about dropping ecstasy with him at the Cow Palace, how crazy it was. I thought about how I'd hid from his ex-boyfriend and how we bought porn with his mom. And I remember telling myself that if I ever made it back to San Francisco, I would tell everyone the story. Thank you.
Philip Harris.